On Thursday, Florida Senator Rick Scott questioned FBI Director Christopher Wray and DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas about reports that China has police stations within the continental United States to spy on dissidents. While Wray didn't get into specifics, he did say that the idea of China setting up police stations within the U.S. was concerning. Wray also spoke out against China's, quote, clear pattern of exporting its repression beyond its shores. Scott is a vocal critic of the Chinese Communist Party and has warned repeatedly of the threat posed by Chinese influence in American institutions and corporate life, as well as the soft and hard power wielded by the Middle Kingdom.
First, Secretary Mayorkas, thanks for your calls around the hurricanes, and I've had a very positive experience with FEMA. So I think you have a great team there, and everybody there does a good job.
Thank you, Senator.
And I think the last time, Director Wray, you testified, I had the opportunity afterwards to go to West Virginia to see, and I think I would just want to compliment you on what you've done to revamp the call center operation. I know I'm sure it's still hard to catch everything that goes on out there, but I want to thank you for that. Secretary Mayorkas, you know that I've been disappointed with the border. It just seems like it's open. We've got all this fentanyl come across. We've got people dying. But here's my question, and I don't know, Secretary Mayorkas or Director Wray, if you want to answer it. It's been reported that the Chinese Communist Party are operating police stations in the United States in an effort to surveil Chinese dissidents. It seems obvious the U.S. shouldn't allow its most significant geopolitical rival, an oppressive communist regime, to establish police stations in the U.S. What authority or jurisdiction does the CCP have in the U.S.? And I don't know which one wanted to testify.
Well, Senator, like you, I'm very concerned about this. We are aware of the existence of these stations. I had to be careful about discussing our specific investigative work, but to me it is outrageous to think that the Chinese police would attempt to set up shop, in New York, let's say, without proper coordination. It violates sovereignty and circumvents standard judicial and law enforcement cooperation processes. And the reason this is so important is because we have seen a clear pattern of the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party, exporting their repression right here into the U.S. And we've had now a number of indictments that you may have seen of the Chinese engaging in uncoordinated quote-unquote law enforcement action right here in the United States, harassing, stalking, surveilling, blackmailing people who they just don't like or who disagree with the Xi regime. And so it's a real problem, and it's something that we're talking with our foreign partners about as well, because we're not the only country where this has occurred.
They don't have any right to be here, right?
Well, we're looking into the legal parameters of it. So I want to be a little bit careful not to get out over my skis on that. But suffice to say, I can tell you from an FBI director perspective, I'm deeply concerned about this, and I'm not going to just let it lie.
Okay. Secretary, does it impact Homeland Security at all?
Well, of course, the threat of China is one of the most significant threats that we face in the Homeland. It's not only a matter of national security, it's a matter of Homeland Security in a number of arrays, in a number of areas of our mission.
Do you think you have the ability to shut them down? Do you know if you have the right to shut them down?
I would have to defer to the Department of Justice with respect to the
It would go
legal
to Justice, not Homeland Security? Okay. So it would be under FBI?
Well, or to the extent that the remedies might be some part of the Justice Department outside the FBI, that could also be a possibility. And then there may be a State Department dimension to this that we're looking into. So
when you know they're here, do you know if they're surveilling U.S. citizens? Do you know that yet? Do you have enough information to know if they are?
Well, again, I don't want to get too far into our ongoing investigative work, but as I said, we have seen plenty of situations in the past where the Chinese government, under the pretext of going after corruption, have essentially used that as a vehicle to surveil. We've had situations where they've planted bugs inside Americans' cars, for example. And one of the things that we're seeing more and more is them hiring private investigators here in the U.S. to essentially be their agents, if you will, to conduct some of this work. So this is something we're trying to call out, and it's important that Chinese Americans and Chinese dissidents who are here know to call the FBI to report when they think they may have been targeted with this conduct.
because you probably can't talk about it in here, I'd like to get a classified briefing on what they're doing, so at some point, so whenever it works out for you guys.
We'd be happy to set that up.